How many four-letter words can I use on that?
Trying to switch to a double. Cheddar is driving. Nothing yet. Takedown, Michael Cheddar.
Oh, Nick, I'm a top guy, so I love top wrestling.
Hale trying to stick him. He does. Maximus Hale the fall.
So I think that wrestling is the greatest sport on earth.
What's going on, everybody? It's Nick Kosko with On3 Sports, another edition of On3 Wrestling. Very special guest today, Iowa women's wrestling head coach Clarissa Chun joining the program today. Coach, really appreciate you coming on. It's an honor to talk to you. You're a trailblazer, as they call them. And in fact, you are a honoree for the NWCA Trailblazer Award this year. I'll start right there. Your reaction to that. You've had quite the whirlwind ride after your first year as head coach at Iowa. What's all this been like?
A lot, in great ways. When taking the position at the University of Iowa, I really just wanted to see what we were capable of and take on that challenge. And our women are great. They work hard. They earn everything that they go after. And it's just fun starting to build the program here at Iowa. We have a great support system, and the community has been awesome. Trailblazing, sometimes I wonder if I am the right fit for that term, because there's so many people that came before me and paved that way so that I could have opportunities like this, from back in the 80s. And so honored to be alongside Gary Abbott and Ashley Sword, who I was actually teammates with at Missouri Valley College. So thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, no doubt. You talk about, I know you say trailblazing is, it's kind of just, I don't want to say going over your head, but you're like, you're honored to be in this position. And it came at a crazy time because you were named the first head coach of Iowa. Iowa was the first Power 5 school to institute Division I women's wrestling. Just take me back to that time where you were named the head coach, you're building the program. You had this past season was your first official season for you and the girls, obviously very dominant, undefeated season, 6 national champions, 12 All-Americans, team champions, the whole thing. But go back a couple of years ago where this program was announced, you were named the head coach. What was that whole process like? What did Iowa say to you saying, we're going to start a women's wrestling program, be the first in the Big Ten to do it? What was that whole situation like?
Well, really thankful and grateful that Coach Brands, put it out there to administration. Let's start a women's wrestling program. I think it starts with an idea, right? And the people behind it that buy in from Board of Regents and the administration, the athletic department. This program is bigger than me, right? It's bigger than our team, and so it's the people who got the idea and pushed it forward. And the process was like any other, applying for it. And there was an interview process and everything. And when I was going through it, it was, a little bit of can I do this? Is this, something I'm capable of, and along the ways it's, the challenge that I enjoy, right? It's just like competing, is get to compete in a different way. And as I was going through the process, putting in my application and my resume and going through the interview process, it really felt like competition. Let's go get it, what an opportunity. And, alongside thinking about the people that would help build this program and make it to what it is and what it's capable of.
So when you go from the competition, Matt, you mentioned the new type of competition you have as a coach. Did you envision this for your career when you were going through, your illustrious competition career, your gold medals aplenty? Did you ever say, or did you ever think to yourself, maybe I want to do it from the bench this time and coach the girls and give back? Did you ever envision that, going through your competition career?
Yeah, I think there were moments of it. I think as an athlete, that didn't really cross my mind in different parts of my career, but I think definitely towards the end of my career, it was okay, what is next? What is like, I mean, wrestling's my love, it's my passion, it's what I enjoy doing, and it's ever evolving, ever learning opportunity, working with various people. Yeah, so I think like towards the end of my career, it was like I could see myself going in this direction. But was I qualified and ready for it? I had great opportunities, taking like coaching and leadership courses through United World Wrestling, by way of USA Wrestling. And, it never ends, right? The learning never ends. And that's what's so great about this coaching aspect and role. It's like, you can learn from anyone and everyone. I'm constantly learning from my own athletes, other coaches. I reach out to other coaches of other programs. I still very new at like the college like atmosphere and the ever changing landscape of, where we're at within the NCAA, and just our sport as we're growing. So it's exciting.
It's interesting you bring that up too, because especially with the sport like wrestling, where you look at the NIL landscape, the transfer portal, how everything works with every sport now at the collegiate level, football and basketball kind of run things. We've seen what has happened over the past couple of years with the men's side of things, with wrestling, transfer portal, graduate transfers, guys who saw that COVID waiver eligibility.
Yeah.
How has that affected the women's wrestling part of it so far through the past couple of years? Have you guys had to worry about stuff like that? Have you gone full throttle with NIL type stuff, transfer portal stuff? I can only imagine it probably works a little bit differently, considering you're the lone Power 5 school and everything else is maybe a little bit different, even for the other Division I women's schools.
Yeah, it is different. What we're up against is other D1, 2, and 3 programs, and each division has their own. We have different models, right, as far as like recruiting and bringing people on, and like in-state, out-of-state, all this stuff, right? And like we don't, like, it hasn't hit women's wrestling like it has in the men's space of wrestling as far as NIL. But like as a coach, I stay out of like the deals that our athletes get, our student athletes get, but some of them have gotten really nice like opportunities through NIL deals of their own. And great, like let them have that opportunity to capitalize off their name, image, and likeness, like during their time as a collegiate athlete. So, I mean, would love that, during my college career. It really is, each generation like pushing for more, and in the sense of it just gets better each year for them.
So about your team in specific, you look at 16-0 undefeated season. We mentioned before, 6 national champions, 12 All-Americans. You were team champs as well across the board. I like the fact that you alluded to learning something new every day and constantly trying to get better as a leader and a coach, considering you're not a wrestler anymore. How do you learn from a season like this that you just had, where you guys were so dominant? You've had, you're getting in a lot of number 1 recruits. Some of these girls are going right away. You've had veterans come into the program as well that are already dominant, and you just made them level up essentially this past season. What can you take away and learn from this past year where you guys were on top?
I think the day in and day out, as a program, I think the hardest thing is to do it again, right? Like, one is like, let's go get it. Let's get after it. Let's, go after that title. But throughout the whole season, it wasn't about that. It was about like, take care of what's in front of us, like bring out your best self, and outcome will take care of itself, right? So, but like, so it is looking overall, like the entirety of the season, and taking a step back of like how the season went this past year, and what would we keep the same and what would we do differently, and it is a balance of that. It did feel like it was a long season, and like as far as, it was our first time going through a college season, like a college competition season, like our first year. Our student athletes are redshirting, so we, having that schedule was was different than this past year. You know, we wanted to make sure we met the criteria for championship status as far as going to 13 days of competition. And, you know, like it was great, you know, and how can we do it better for next year? And, you know, I think learning from last year to this year, like anytime we're bringing in new people, you know, there's going to be a learning and adjustment like time, you know, for our program. And, you know, this is our first year that we've lost some people, you know, like graduated some people as far as eligibility and whatnot. So figuring that pieces out, you know, like is always a learning opportunity for us.
The one individual I wanted to focus on, because she was dynamite, as the whole team was last year, but Kylie Welker, and of course she stood out for Team USA as well, 76 kilograms, national champion. She's fourth on the list for Team USA as far as the women for the freestyle team going to the Olympics in Paris. You were just out in Colorado as well, as far as I'm told. When you look at what Kylie Welker's meant to your program so far and what she could do in the future, how does she balance it out and, I guess, model herself for the rest of her teammates, the ones that, you know, want to win national championships and obviously want to get to the Olympics? And how does she balance that out, and how do you balance that out as a coach for the collegiate team and as well as getting these girls ready for the international and freestyle scene?
Yeah, you know, the collegiate season is a lot of matches, a lot of wrestling, you know, and it is an opportunity to like challenge Kylie to like add to her repertoire, you know, like she's good at what she's good at, and she typically can get like to her attacks like on the collegiate level. And when gearing her up for the international level, it is about like what like being true to her, but also expanding like her, I guess, toolbox, so to speak, you know. And Kylie's a great leader, you know, she leads by example, and, you know, she does a great job, like, including her teammates along with her in the way she does business. So it's great to have her in the room, and like we do our best to challenge her and prepare her for what's next or what's in front of her. She will be going to Colorado in a couple weeks to wrestle off for the U23 world team, which is exciting for her. You know, it was hard, right? Like, you know, she's so driven. She's got great goals of being an Olympic champion, and Olympic team trials was tough, right? It was a hard loss for her. But these are the learning moments, right? As far as, you know, like the opportunity to continue to grow. You know, sometimes we don't always get what we're going after, but if we can take something away and you know, like work on those areas, like whether it's mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, what it is, you know, whatever it is for her, then, and it's about like, you know, letting her feel those feelings and then come back and not stay there too long, and come back and keep going after, because she loves the sport. So it's not, that's the fun part, right? Is like she has that natural love for it. So, and if you go to her camps, she's great. She's great with the kids. She, you know, there's so much passion and love and enjoyment that eludes out of her. So get out to her camps this summer. So
I'm curious at how you model your, I guess, coaching philosophy and the way you structure your practices, for whether it's for the college stuff, or you're getting the girls ready for, you know, making a run at a world team or the Olympic team. You know, you're a bronze medalist yourself back in 2012 in the London Games. You know, you have gold medals, you know, up and down your resume as well from the Pan American Championships. When you look back at your own Olympic experience, how do you translate that to the girls you're coaching now? The sport obviously always evolves, men and women, whether it's freestyle or even Greco-Roman. There's always new techniques to learn. It seems like these kids are just getting better and better at a younger age. How do you translate your Olympic experience and your bronze medal that's hanging up? I would imagine it's got to be hung up somewhere. How do you translate that to your current wrestlers?
Sadly, the medal is somewhere in a box, in a bag, somewhere. I don't know. It's so sad. But yeah, you know, it's about like having like our student athletes dive deep, right? Understand wrestling, understand the position, understand, like, it's about awareness, you know, like what works for me might not work for them. And then like how we structure practices, I have a great coaching staff. I got Coach Tanya Verbeek, who's a 3-time Olympic medalist, world medalist, and and Coach Gary Mayab, like the best Greco coach out there, in the U.S. And I feel like there's no one coach for everyone. So during the season, we take turns of running like practices, so we have very similar ways of doing things, but different in other ways, maybe delivery is different. And it's the opportunity to like, switch it up for our student athletes, but at the same time, build some consistency, like, cause consistency is key, right? It's sometimes like mundane and people might think it's boring to just do reps and whatnot. But I mean, the greats are, like they're never too big for stance and motion. You'll see a lot of Olympic champions doing stance and motion and, like working on their footwork and to like the basic like fundamentals of wrestling, and really just having each of our student athletes just dive deep into understanding like wrestling. A lot of times we have the ability to think like go fast, go hard and whatnot, and sometimes like positions might be missed, like the little details of things can be missed because we went too fast through that position. And if we slow it down and understand it and then eventually pick it up, and that's where we want them to like soak it in and feel it and understand it.
It's a good philosophy to have. Clarissa Chun with me here on On3 Wrestling. Coach, I wanted to transition to the future of women's wrestling, and we mentioned before how Iowa first Power 5 conference, or first Power 5 team to institute a Division I women's team. Where do you see the future of the sport? Because you mentioned women's wrestling continues to grow, especially at the collegiate level, youth levels are rising, and you mentioned how Division I, II, and III, I feel like they're more focused on the women's side compared to the men's side at this point. When you look at maybe what the Big Ten can do or some other Power 5 schools, do you envision another Big Ten school or another Power 5 school adding a program within the next couple of years?
I hope so. I really hope so. I know there's programs across the country, like specifically in the East Coast, that are starting up women club programs, like Columbia's been around, Princeton, Lehigh, Cornell, Rutgers, Harvard, MIT. There's club programs all over, so I think getting the institutions behind it to fully support it as a collegiate sport would be awesome. Read somewhere Michigan started a women's hockey program. Was pretty bummed about that because that was a great opportunity to possibly get women's wrestling at Michigan. Not to say that it's not still possible. The great thing is they're adding a women's sport, so maybe there's a door open for that at Michigan. But yeah, I don't know. I sometimes hear some things, but I don't know if I would be the first or the last to know. So I don't know. Yeah.
I can only imagine. And for those who don't know, back in February, the NCAA did announce that they were projected to add women's wrestling as a sanctioned championship sport by 2026. When you heard that decision, or at least that projected decision, I feel like that would open up more doors, no?
Yeah, I hope so. I think that would be great. I think that would be a great target for any programs looking to start to be ready to execute for that 2026 year. So that's a great, I don't know, I'm excited, for what is to come. It's not about if, but it's about when,
A couple more for you, Coach, and I appreciate your time, of course. I'm looking at what you guys are going to be able to do next year. Again, we alluded to it before, how you transition from 24 to 25 after being a dominant team. What specific things are you focusing on this summer leading into the fall and winter with the crop of girls you have coming back? Again, you have a lot of girls coming back as well. I know you finally lost some girls to graduation, but you do have a bulk of the team coming back. What is next now for Iowa women's wrestling And not to mention, I can imagine we're probably going to see more matches inside Carver Hawkeye Arena. And you guys did set an attendance record last year, too.
Yeah, that was fun. That was a great experience for everyone, everyone watching, and for our student athletes and us coaching staff at Lake. I would say what's next for us is our summer camps coming up. We have a couple in the month of June, and then really getting ready. We have a couple on the U20 Pan Am team, like 4 on the U20 World team, and then like Kylie's wrestling off for the U23 World team. There'll be a non-Olympic World team trials in September. So really gearing our like women who qualified for those events or made those teams to get them ready to compete throughout the summer, and then really just gearing up for the incoming coming in and our student athletes returning to school. Feels like it's June, but I feel like August is going to come by so fast, and really just trying to organize our competition schedule. I think that's I think, you know, we know where we want to go, like out, you know, like as far as traveling. We're waiting on any home meets really to wait on like the Big Ten schedule for men and women's basketball, men's wrestling, and navigating the dates and times and opportunities we can have Carver, because we definitely want to make sure that stay in Carver. And it was awesome. We got the new facility that we just moved in a month ago, and the tunnel runs out straight into Carver. So from our new facility, so it'll be fun.
Well, that's going to be awesome. I hope that is streamed somewhere, or if not, I'm out in Iowa City for the first time and I get to see that in person. Coach, I'll leave you here. I'll leave you here with this one. And I do ask everybody, whether it's media personnel, coach, wrestler. And I know this maybe doesn't apply yet to the women's side of things, but men's wrestling, there's been a lot of talk about whether a dual meet championship to determine the team national champion in season would be a good idea for the sport. Are you a dual meet coach? Are you a dual meet person? I got to ask that first. And would that be a good idea to potentially grow the sport more on the men's side, maybe eventually the women's side?
Well, we have national duels. We go to in January. NWCA puts that on. So absolutely, that's so fun. I think if you haven't been to a women's dual meet, you should come out to one. Just like the energy that the women bring to a dual meet is quite different than watching a men's dual meet. So that, like, I'm all for it, because it is like team against team through the lineup, and just like it really is a fun thing to watch, rather than like individuals running across the mat figuring out like who's coming up when and whatnot. And you're just watching one mat if you want to watch Iowa versus whoever, right? Or whoever versus another team, right? So it's a fun environment. It's something that, like, when I go back and watch like high school wrestling, it's fun to watch like dual meets, you know? So I definitely do enjoy the idea of having a national dual champion, because it is different, you know, like the road through a bracket could be different than like head to head, you know? And
I like that. I'm from New Jersey, so I'm a big dual meet guy. You know, having wrestled for a long time as well, so the dual meets all the way for me. Yeah, no doubt. Clarissa Chun with me here on On3 Wrestling. Be sure to like and subscribe this video, and check out on3.com for other On3 Wrestling and other college sports online. Coach, I appreciate the time. Good luck this summer in preparation. Of course, getting ready for the World Team Trials as well, and of course the upcoming season. I'm gonna have to come out to Iowa City. I mean, I maybe a little doubleheader, men's and women's wrestling over at Carver Hawkeye Arena. That sounds pretty good.
Yes, you should. Thanks, Nick.
Absolutely. Clarissa Chun with me right here on On3 Wrestling.